2.4 Operations with Function. The first thing you have to know how to do is to find f plus g and f minus g. That f and g stands for a function, function f and function g. You must know how to add the functions together and how to subtract the functions. Alright, so we have to add and subtract them. So for the first one, we're going to add. So that means we need 9 minus 3x plus 5x minus 7. When you're adding two functions together, you don't have to worry about parentheses or anything like that, because everything will be added together. But you should put them in order with variable first and then constant second, descending powers of x. So in this case, we're going to have negative 3x plus 5x, that's a 2x, and then 9 minus 7. 2x plus 2 is going to be f plus g. And then the second thing we have to do is to subtract them. So f minus g is going to be 9 minus 3x, but since you're subtracting a quantity, you have to use parentheses around the second one. 5x minus 7. Now simplify it, 9 minus 3x, and distribute the negative sign here all the way through to each of these to get minus 5x plus 7. So negative 3x minus 5x is a negative 8x, and then 9 plus 7 is 16. Try these and bring it up. F of x and g of x. You need to bring up both items. The first one is going to be f plus g. That should be a g. And then the second one will be f minus g. First thing we're going to do is f plus g. So that's going to be 2x squared minus 6x minus 3 plus a negative 3x squared plus 4x minus 2. 2x squared minus 3x squared is a negative x squared. Negative 6x plus 4x is a negative 2x. And then minus 3 minus 2 is minus 5. That is f plus g. The next thing we have to do is f minus g. And that's going to be 2x squared minus 6x minus 3 minus the quantity of negative 3x squared plus 4x minus 2. Simplify first. Keep this first segment the same. Distribute the negative sign to everything through there. So you get plus 3x squared minus 4x plus 2. 2x squared and 3x squared is 5x squared. And then minus 6x minus 4x is minus 10x. Minus 3 plus 2 is a negative 1. You must have this one right and this one right to get the credit. You need to find f minus g, and then, find f plus g first and then f minus g. We're going to do f plus g first, so that's going to be negative 2 minus x squared plus 5x squared minus 6x minus 3. Negative x squared plus 5x squared is 4x squared. And then you have negative x minus 6x, that's minus 7x. And then negative 2 minus 3 is minus 5. That'll be the plus. And then for the minus, we're going to have to do negative 2 minus x squared minus the quantity of 5x squared minus 6x minus 3. And we have to simplify by distributing the negative sign outside the quantity to get negative 5x squared plus 6x plus 3. So now we can do negative x squared minus 5x squared is negative 6x squared. And then for this one, negative x plus 6x is plus 5x. And then negative 2 plus 3 is a plus 1. You will need this and this correct to get the points. So next up, you would have to find f times g and f divided by g. It's still the same process, only you're doing f times g and f divided by g. So in this example, we're going to do f times g. So we'll have x squared plus 9 multiplied against x minus 9. If I multiply f times g, I have to use the FOIL method. X squared times x is x to the third, and x squared times minus 9 is minus 9x squared, and then shift to the 9 and distribute that to get 9x minus 81. And combine like terms where you can, but in this one there are no like terms. It's simplified as it is. So that is f times g. Now we'll do f divided by g. F divided by g would be x squared plus 9 divided by x minus 9. Now you have to remember Algebra 1. This is not a review of Algebra 1, this is a continuation, so you're expected to remember what we did in Algebra 1. And for x squared plus 9 over x minus 9, you have the sum of two squares here. If you had a difference of two squares, you could factor that. But you can't. It's the sum of two squares, so it's not going to work out. Therefore, this one is already simplified as it is. There's nothing you can factor out of the top and the bottom. However, if it were reversed and it were x squared minus 9 over x plus 3, for example, then you could factor the top into this x plus 3, x minus 3. And if you have an x plus 3 on the bottom, that would cancel out. So if that were the problem, you could do some factoring and come up with a final answer of x minus 3. To factor a difference of two squares, you use plus, minus, square root of this, square root of this, distributed in each of the quantities. We have to multiply first, so we're going to do f times g. Notice that is a closed dot. If we're going to do f times g, then we're going to have to do 5x squared multiplied by 1/2 x. When I multiply these together, 5 times 1/2 is simply 5 halves, and x squared times x is x to the third. So 5 halves x to the third is f times g. Now you can do f divided by g, which would be 5x squared divided by 1/2 x. If I divide by a fraction, I flip and multiply by the bottom fraction. But look at the x's first. You have x squared over x. That just cancels out to an x on the top. Your 5 is the same as 5 over 1, and when you divide by 1/2, you multiply by 2 over 1. 10x should be the answer to f divided by g. Let f of x equal 4x plus 8 and g of x equal x plus 2. Find each new function and state any domain restrictions. So we could do something like f divided by g. We'll do f divided by g, which is going to be 4x plus 8 over x plus 2. Alright, if we do that, then we got to see if we can factor anything. Can I factor something out of the top? What comes out of 4x and 8? 2 will come out. Anything higher? 4 will come out. So divide 4 from 4x to get x, and divide 8 by 4 to get 2. Then on the bottom we have x plus 2. Clearly you can cancel this out and be left with a 4. Alright, there is also something else you can do. You could do something like this. You could do f of g. Notice that's an open dot. F of g means that you're going to plug in the g function where you see an x in the f function. Here is the f function. The f function is 4x plus 8. F of x equals 4x plus 8. If I put the g function in there, remember the g function is x plus 2. If I put this in everywhere I see an x in the f function, then that is f of g. So I would do 4 times the quantity of x plus 2 and then plus 8. And simplify it. 4 times x, 4 times 2, and then plus the 8 would give me 4x plus 16. Is there any value from this answer that x could not equal? Look at this function. Is there any value that x could not equal in that function that would make it undefined? How does something become undefined? What do you have to do to get an undefined item? Divide by 0. Yes. So what would make this 0? A negative 2, right. So x could not equal negative 2 in that case. Down here, there is no restriction because you have no division in it. So 4x plus 16, you could put any number in there. And the opening functions here, when you plug in to start with, there are no restrictions on that. Evaluate. You're going to do the same thing we did before except plug in a number and evaluate the new function. So we have f plus g. First of all, what is f plus g of x? You have to add the two functions together. 6x plus 8 and 2x plus 4 is 8x plus 12. And the direction says to plug in a negative 3. If I plug in a negative 3 here, I come up with negative 24 plus 12, which is a negative 12. This we've already done before, f plus g. Now you just have to plug in a value into it. We'll do some more of f of g and g of f. This is where you have to go both ways. So I have f of x and g of x. The first thing I have to find is f of g of x. So what I'm going to do is insert this function into that x. So I would have 3 times the quantity, negative 2x minus 6, and then plus 2. And simplify. Negative 6x minus 18 plus 2. And minus 18 plus 2 is minus 16. So that's f of g. Of course, you could write it backwards, and you could do g of f. And if we did that, we're going to do this in reverse. Up here at the top, we're going to put this one in for x into that one. So we would write negative 2 times the quantity 3x plus 2, and then minus 6, and simplify that. So negative 6x minus 4, and then minus 6. Minus 4 minus 6 is minus 10. So minus 6x minus 10 would be the solution. If you get to a point where you have something like 5x minus 6 over x minus 3, what could x not equal? 3. Why could it not equal 3?
Makes it 0 on the bottom.
Because it makes it a 0 on the bottom, right. So whatever the bottom is, if you have an expression, x minus 3, you can set it equal to 0 and then solve it. That would be what it's not equal to, because it would make it divisible by 0.